I got to remember to read.
Yo, there's something beautiful about Bearcats basketball. High flying.
Kenyon with a jam.
Shot denying.
Miles rejected.
There's just an energy that comes with the Cats. A rich history built on toughness.
And Mick Cronin looks like he wants a technical.
A bring-your-own-lunch pail mentality. For a long time, UC was the hunted.
And I felt that we couldn't lose.
I think it's time the Bearcats do a little hunting of their own.
Once y'all done with them, send them to me, man. You know what I mean? We can put them on the court. Keep that Bearcat thing going.
I am fired up.
Takes it all the way. Oh! It's going to be Little.
I wonder how Steve Logan would be over in Afghanistan or somewhere. I bet he'd be pretty poised. He just does not get rattled.
Van Exel, he'll cut it loose. Watch out. Stevenson cuts it back. Oh! Kilpatrick outruns everybody. Johnson, the exclamation point.
We've been dealt the king of heartbreak over and over again.
Rozier. Smith and
Everything they worked for was undone on one play.
But I see the light. The Cats are back. Lukosius, open three, got it! Oh, baby! Welcome to the only live Bearcats postgame show on YouTube. This is Chatterbox Bearcats.
Welcome in to Chatterbox Bearcats. Boy, do we have a ton to talk about tonight. We've got coaches leaving, personnel being added to the Bearcat basketball program, Bearcat commit Shon Abaev prepping for the McDonald's All-American game, and of course, the Cincinnati Bearcats, your Cincinnati Bearcats, getting ready to play in the illustrious Crown Tournament in beautiful Las Vegas. How we doing tonight, boys? I'm Nick Niehaus, hosting tonight's show. Charlie Walter, I think, will be popping on later on, but joining me now, Hudson and Eric Lilly. How we doing tonight, Hudson?
Oh, we're doing great. We're doing great. Ready to rip another show. The three-man weave, possibly a four-man weave. We'll see how that goes. I'm just interested just as far as the logistics there, if that's even going to work, but we're going to do it.
Lil, you ready to talk about the Crown? I know you're really excited.
Let's go, baby. You know, old Big East matchup here. That's what it's all about. April basketball. Locked in.
Locked in. Exactly the idea we had for April basketball preseason. Well, we're going to start off with the breaking news. Officially, Corey Evans has been named the general manager of the Cincinnati Bearcats, and also we have, like I mentioned, an assistant coach leaving the program reportedly. Drew Adams reportedly will be heading to Indiana to be their assistant coach, bench coach, or one of the bench coaches, excuse me. So let's start off there because that's some breaking news that really affects the portal. I know that a lot of our connections so far with portal guys has been through Drew Adams. So certainly that affects who we've been talking to and who we're going to talk to. But Lily, I'll start off with you. What are your thoughts on, first off, Adams leaving?
I'm bad with assistants. Like, it's so hard to judge these guys, but you can't really say he has a claim to fame here. You know, like he was the lead on a lot of guys we almost got. We were excited at the time. You know, it felt like we were building up to getting those guys, and it just never happened. He's still got some guys here like CMOS, and you know Hickman didn't work out, but and it's hard to really tell who he's the lead on for everybody. But at the same time, this is like a results-based business, right? And we didn't get any of those guys. And even if he ends up getting them for IU, I don't think it means like he would have done it here eventually. He's an Indiana guy, and IU has that pool that we don't have in Indiana. So if we started winning here, sure, but you kind of got to win before you land those big fish at Cincinnati. I think we've learned. It's just a shame we missed on all of them. It's a bummer.
Yeah, if there was an award for coming in second place,
Oh,
we know
man.
who's grabbing that. Hudson, what do you think?
Yeah, it's like if his biggest thing, and yeah, it's hard for me to even know what the role is of each exact assistant player. I saw Chad Dollar like fishing with Edgerrin James at one point. Apparently, Drew Adams had a bunch of these connections. You know, he was in the mix with a bunch of big recruits. But at the end of the day, like if he was the recruiting angle, I mean, did we see what the product was on the floor? What was it great? So I'm not necessarily devastated that we might be moving in another direction. Now, there's probably a reason IU wanted him. And now he's probably going to get, 5 times the budget. So he might look like a genius down the line here, but it probably wasn't going to work in Cincinnati. So, I mean, if we wanted to retain him, sure. I don't think it's the worst thing to maybe switch up this staff a little bit. Maybe God forbid, we bring in an offensive mind to maybe improve that side of the ball. So yeah, I mean, I'm not devastated over Drew Adams personally.
No, I can't say I am either, and especially on the same day that it gets officially announced that Corey Evans is joining the Cincinnati men's basketball program as the general manager, kind of a new role that we see teams adapting to nowadays, trying to, I guess, go through this NIL and this portal life. But Corey Evans, something that even Reese Davis tweeted about Corey Evans joining the staff. So somebody you wouldn't even think of is saying that this guy's a genius. We got everybody saying, what a hire for Cincinnati. What a hire for Cincinnati. So you got to be excited about that. Now, this guy was a Rivals writer and talent evaluator. So he was in the AAU pipeline, knows a bunch of, all these AAU guys, program leaders. So I'm sure he's got tons of connections and also knows how to evaluate the game. But recently he's been with the Oklahoma City Thunder, who we have seen absolutely blow up this year. He was a scout for them. So this guy clearly knows what he's doing. I'll go back to you, Lily. What are I know we talked about it a month ago when it was rumored, but now that it's official, how excited are you about Corey Evans?
I gotta be excited, man. Like, the Thunder, what they've done, it's fun. Like, the tanking is weird. They had like 10 million picks with Presti, but Presti sets up a crazy operation there. They're scouting high schoolers. A lot of places weren't doing that before OKC did, and I'm just excited to see like who he comes up with, because we're so used to like, you see North Carolina, oh, maybe we'll get that guy. We see Georgia, maybe we'll get that guy. With this guy, we don't know what he's going to pull out of his hat. Like, I don't know what to expect. I noticed Thamel mentioned, just for anybody who hasn't seen the tweet, he says Evans will cover high school, international, and transfer portal scouting and recruiting. So Drew Adams was our international guy. So to me, this suggests that Corey was in on some international scouting for OKC, guys they would maybe try to stash. There's NBA stash picks that you never see for a couple of years. Maybe we'll have a random international guy pop up that we weren't expecting to get. And I'm just excited to see if we can get like one of those retread 5 stars that got blocked at Duke or stuff like that. Something you can get excited about with a big, like a new role where you're not blocked behind a guy that's going in the first round.
Yeah, Hudson, I this one's weird for me because I know you texted in that the picture that was used was AI. I don't know if this guy, I'm kind of going just word of mouth that this guy exists. There's like no trace of him, a photo of him on the internet. So I have no idea what this guy like looks like. I mean, the picture that everybody was tweeting out, I guess it was AI, right? So we don't even know how real this guy is. He's real, though. He's going to bring real talent, though, right, Hudson?
Apparently my mic is down right now, so we'll try to figure this out, but bear with me. Yeah, the picture, like initially I was like, all right, this kind of looks like what I thought he would look like. And then when you look closer, it is so clearly AI generated. And even more so, he changed his profile pic to the AI picture. And I was searching everywhere for this guy online. I found one picture like blurry as hell from 1,000 feet away. So I'm like, is this guy like an algorithm that AI generated now into human form? And all these basketball minds are like, retweeting it. Like, I've been friends. Wes Miller's like, I've known him for 15 years. I'm like, show me the evidence. Give me a picture when you were 20 with him, Wes. I want to see it. But I mean, maybe the guy's just so locked in on the sport of basketball that he doesn't give a shit about, social media, none of it. He's just so dialed in on recruiting and scouting. So I think it's probably a good thing. I mean, how can you not say, hey, a guy from Oklahoma City who has just been known to pick some of the best talent, develop some of the best talent, to bring him into a staff where we've said, time and time again, roster construction might be the biggest issue of this team, and plucking the right talent that fits together. So, yeah, Corey Evans, AI or not, we welcome you.
We definitely welcome you. I mean, it seems like it's a resounding, successful hire. Now, Hudson, you figure out that Mike, we're going to get into some portal guys here in a second, Lily. So I'll go to you. Anything new? I know you've been keeping on the spreadsheet when it comes to the transfer portal. So obviously, Corey Evans very much in the mix on contacting these guys, actually evaluating these guys, making sure that some of these guys are the right, kind of pieces to fit, because roster construction, of course, last year was the main concern for us, right? Like you were counting on a couple guys to take a step forward. They didn't. That's why we wind up playing in the Crown on Tuesday. So anybody stick out to you? Now, we do have a list ourselves of guys we want to talk about, but we can get started with that. I'm just curious, anyone that sticks out to you since we've last talked from last week?
I may as well bring up the guy that we got linked to like 5 minutes before we started streaming. This is the first visitor we have confirmed. Harlan Obioha. I probably nailed that. Yeah. A center from UNC Wilmington, 7', 280. Let's go. We need some of that. I don't know anything about this guy, but he will be visiting Cincinnati after the dead period. The dead period, for those who don't know, is like during the Final Four, so coaches can go hang out with each other and try to get other coaches to join. Like, I'm sure Wes will be there networking, trying to find his next assistant at the Final Four. So next week he will be here. We do need a couple big men here and some meat on the bone for the rebounding issues we had this past season. And I want to add something Houdini said, and you with the roster construction. It's like having a GM here to help Wes with that stuff. Like, I think it's safe to say at this point that Wes and maybe Drew Adams, they got caught chasing like that top guy. And I think they're good recruiters. Like, I think that they were feeling genuine interest from these 5 stars. And we were all so excited that they were doing these things because Mick would walk out the room if he saw Calipari walk in, stuff like that. So we were all so happy that we were in the room with these guys. But I think they were kind of leading us all on and got happy feet at the end. Like, I can't really go to Cincinnati, can I? I think having a GM here will really help us with organizing backup plans that make sense. Maybe having more realistic first targets to where we don't have 2 years in a row. Well, I mean, this could be his last year, but the last 2 years have been roster construction disasters, in my opinion. Our best offense was when Landers Nolley was at the 4. And since then, at the 4, we've had Jameel Reynolds. We've had Victor Locken. We've had Odio Guamo. We've had it's brutal, man. Like, it worked with Nolley. The offense worked. So I think Corey will really help kind of just help with the planning, make it a little more calculated. And just to get like one name that I really like that isn't on our list is Lathan Somerville from Rutgers. He's also a big fella, 6'10", 275, true freshman. Who he averaged like 8 and 4 for Rutgers, but he won the job halfway through the season and did pretty well down the stretch in the Big Ten as a true freshman. Offensive big man, doesn't really block shots, which is concerning, but he's a freshman. No one played defense on Rutgers. They were all trying to get to the league in 1 year. So I think it could be one of those guys that really blows up. I'm not sure if we're in on him. We just reached out, though.
Yeah, no, I definitely wanted to touch on what you mentioned with our spot at the 4. I mean, I think that is something like you mentioned that Evans is going to help out with, because it didn't seem like it was going to work with Mitchell and Aziz in together. That's something that we saw towards the end where we're like, we need more Mitchell at the 5. We need to go small. Like, those are two guys who just absolutely do not stretch the floor, do not worry anybody shooting from the outside. So having more of an analytical kind of pursuit on these guys will probably go a long way, because I know that's something that we saw that has Evans his background. So that's good to see. Let's start off with the list of the guys. Hudson, we haven't even started. You're back in. Let's get a live mic check for everybody.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
All right, sounding much better. Let's get started. So we have made the final 4 for Jaylin Sellers. You see, if you are watching on YouTube right now, the graphic, 15.9 points per game out of UCF. Didn't play much this past year, right? So this is somebody that's going to be getting the medical red shirt for, we see this with a bunch of guys nowadays where they didn't play 10 games. They basically sat out the rest of the year, got another year of eligibility. Jaylin Sellers, we are making his final 4. Lily, what do you think of the guy?
I think this is a guy, like someone that's in our wheelhouse, someone we can get. He played in the MAC. He's familiar with the area. And he played in the Big 12. He's familiar with UC. He's familiar with who we would be playing. A weird year last year, but he was very good for UCF. He 16 points per game, shot 29% from 3, which is very uncharacteristic for him. At Ball State, he shot 45% both seasons. So going from 45% to 29% is just like crazy. He was shooting them at Ball State too. This is not a volume thing. So I think he's probably more around, 35, something like that. Unless he gets hit with the Cincinnati curse where he'll shoot 26% and his free throws will go down by 20 as well. We're all ready for that, right? But I think this is like a 2-3. His range. He also has that mid-range thing going. So we're going to see a little more of that if he ends up in Cincinnati. I know a lot of people are fed up with that, including me. But I would love to have him here. Final 4 of Illinois, Georgetown, Providence, Cincinnati. Just a veteran scorer.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the schools. That's what I was going to lead into for Hudson. Georgetown, Illinois, Providence. Pretty good company there, Hudson.
Yeah, I mean, he's a bucket getter. I mean, he averaged 16, 2 seasons ago before he got injured this season. Do we have anybody on this roster right now that has ever averaged 16 points a game? No, we don't. So when I see a guy like that, I'm excited, and he can shoot the ball. And most of the guys that we're targeting or we've reached out to or at least truly in the mix for, you can tell that we're angling towards guys that are shooting closer to 40%, except for one guy that we're about to get into here in a second, which is we love it. We want to see guys that can shoot the ball from the perimeter, and he is a playmaker and a scorer, and we desperately need it. So, yeah, I'm all in on a guy like this, and like Lily said, it seems like we can actually get him. Because some of these guys that we get thrown into the mix with, and I'm like, we're not. We don't have the NIL funds to pay, $3 million to some kid to come over here. So I think he's attainable. And we could use a guy that can score.
Well, you mentioned it. Coming up next on the Chatterbox Bearcats Portal Patrol, Sincere Harris from West Virginia, the guy who is not going to be lighting it up from outside, or at least hasn't yet. But he was top 5 defensive rating in the Big 12, right, Lily? It's just he was dead last in offensive rating. So kind of one that people will look at. And I'll put it this way. If he's the first commit to the Bearcats, people are going to not be overly excited about, just from the fact that this guy was analytically the worst offensive player in the conference. But he's an elite on-ball defender, right, Lily?
Man, I kind of want him to be the first commit just to see what happens. I may be alone on this. Like, some people seem to like him. on the Discord and Twitter, but I really want Sincere Harris. It's pathetic. I'm willing to admit that. Every year there's like one guy I really want that makes no sense. This is it for me this year. He's an Ohio kid. Guards 2, 3, 4, 1. Like he's 6'4", 175. And if you watch it, like he's an athlete, like just on defense. He takes it so seriously. And I think that can spread. I think it's contagious. I think we need that on our team. If he was here last year, I think he would be one of the guys like our fans were like, I love this guy. I don't care. We suck, but like I love this guy. And his shot is dreadful, man. Honestly, like I know we're all the stock down on the shot doctor right now, but I think he can fix it, man. I think the shot doctor can fix this guy. Just try something different, Sincere. It is brutal. It is not working. If you guys pull up his highlights, like try not to laugh at the J. It's bad. But I will say, obviously the elite defense is there. And guys, when I say bad, he shot 11% from 3 this year. 11.
Oh my gosh.
That's probably worse than the power for everybody. But if you watch him a little, teams aren't really guarding him, obviously, but he does attack when it makes sense and gets to the rim. He actually gets fouled a lot. Not the worst free throw shooter. We're not talking about Dylan Mitchell here. So I think he's one of those guys that could just figure it out sort of on offense. Maybe he shoots like upper 20s and it's all right. But he did shoot over 30% at Illinois, really low volume. I think it's in there somewhere. And I'd like with how many spots we're going to have, I think this is a type of guy we should be trying to get.
Houdini, do you think the shot doctor can fix him?
11%. I don't know if God himself can fix that. Yeah, so that worries me. I'm just going to tell you that worries me because he's a guard too. You know, let's not bury the lead. He's a guard. That's got to be the worst. Not power 4, power 5, D1, D2 as a guard to shoot under 15% from 3. Now Lily's right. I did notice that 75% from the line. So I guess there's something in there, and he wasn't nearly as bad in his freshman season. But you know, hey, if you bring in a bunch of scorers, guys like Sellers around him that can shoot, you can maybe get away with it. I don't know if this is a Corey Evans guy for Oklahoma City Thunder from way back when, Cephalosha. That guy could not shoot the basketball to save his life. Now I think Corey Evans would have been like 8 when he was recruiting him, so probably not. But yeah, I mean, hell, it totally depends on what we bring in the portal to say, hey, I think Sincere Harris. But everybody from West Virginia, I got a little West Virginia following or that I follow on Twitter. They love the kid. I mean, they truly do. So he's clearly plays like a Bearcat from an energy standpoint because they all love this guy to death. So I wouldn't be opposed, but we better bring in some serious offense if he comes along.
Well, ask and you shall receive, because the next guy, Chuck just chimed in about, he said, make sure everybody knows that I'm not in love with any of these portal targets, but this guy is his favorite. Tyree Bryan from Santa Clara, 10.4 points per game, 43% from 3. Chuck's favorite out of the crew. Look, this guy played at Santa Clara. I know like 3 things about him. I know he had 35 points against Gonzaga. I need a head nod from Lily just to know that I'm spewing out real. Yep, it was in the 30s. I know that. And guess what? Gonzaga's after him. So I believe we're like pretty much in the final 2 for Tyree Bryan. He also went to high school with Jizzle James. Lily, what do you think about this guy?
I'm with Chuck on this guy. Also, he just knows what he is. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's shooting the threes. Like if you watch his highlights, he's not really shooting crazy, like contested shots. You also see a little stuff sprinkled in, taking it to the rack. I think he's one of those guys that'll translate to the power level, whether it's like really elevates into being a really good player or kind of just fits in and is like that bench guy that everybody loves. And one thing I want to point out here that we some of the sleuthers found out is Tyree Bryan, he's a Santa Clara guard. The Santa Clara director of player personnel followed Corey Evans on Twitter a couple days ago. And And I just connected the dots literally here, like when we were warming up here. But Jalen Williams on OKC, Santa Clara. There's a connection there. Maybe he could know someone on the staff or something at Santa Clara. There could be a relationship there, but really efficient, doesn't try to do too much. He has the size too, guys. Like, this is a power conference size, 6'5", 210 shooting guard. I would like to just try to lock this guy up personally. I can't see anything wrong.
43% from three, Hudson.
Yeah, this one's simple. He's 6'5", and he shoots over 40%. I want him, and he's attainable. He's at Santa Clara. Okay, well, let's bring him over to UC. We need shot makers. I like him, and as we've seen, teams like Iowa State and Texas Tech, for example, I know we've preached this many times. You don't necessarily need to make the splashiest plays. If you can pluck the right guys, and this guy just seems like he's like a winning player. You just want him on your roster. So, yeah, give me Tyree Bryant all day.
I agree. I really like this guy. Look, we can't have too many shooters on this team. I don't think we have any shooters on this team for next year yet. So, why not? Santa people
Where
are
are the
going to look
bigs?
at. Well, I was going to say. That's Chuck. Chuck posed a question for us. He said, "Is Wes really going to run it back with our bigs? We don't have any bigs. That's one thing to talk about. Let's talk about that real quick before we get into our last guy who is not a big, and we are just it's kind of a shot in the dark on this last one. But like, what do we think about that, Hudson? No bigs.
I don't know what's going on. What I think about it, it's bad.
Hold up. Let me. I'm so sorry. You missed it when you were fixing the mic. Our first visit is a big. So actually, where are the bigs? Our first visit, Lily broke it down. We have a UNCW big coming. That's our first visit, but just one, and it seems like we're linked with how many? So I don't know. One's not enough, right? Right, Hudson? I don't think so.
No. I mean, you got to have a number of guys that we're looking at, because as we know, it doesn't mean we're going to get this kid. Lily, you tell me, is that 7-footer from, where'd you say he's from?
7 foot 280 Houdini from UNC Wilmington.
He's a unit. What is he good?
I don't know, but he's big.
Okay. All right. Well, screw it. You're right. What's the point of looking at it if he's good? Okay. Screw that. We need big bodies.
That's how we got here, man.
Yes. Yeah. Whatever. I mean, anybody that we can get that's huge and can maybe be a little bit more of an offensive threat than a guy like Aziz, sure. But I would like to. I mean, it's early, and that's part of the podcasting game. I'm sure that we're looking at other guys that we might not see right now, considering nobody's even entered the portal on our own team. So it's hard to even, figure out exactly what direction we're going in. I would assume Paige is going to the portal, but who knows?
Well, that's going to be a topic here in a few minutes. But speaking of the podcasting game, our last guy that we're going to talk about, Cam Kraft out of Miami, the old Xavier player, 43% from three, 13.6 points per game. I don't think this is a likely one, right? But he's local and is a shooter, and we contacted him. So here we are. Put this in the title. Could the Cincinnati Bearcats land Cam Kraft? I'm sure that would go crazy. Lily, what do you think about Cam Kraft?
Really good shooter. All types of like we're talking. Like, how Jeremiah Davenport had that 1-3 he would make every time, but if he's coming off a screen or something, it just clanks he makes every type of three on the court that you could think of. In the MAC. I just don't see it with him. I know some people want him, but I'm not entirely sure. But he has the size. He's 6'6", 200. I just don't think he is Big 12 level. Maybe be one of those guys that goes up to like Dayton, and we're talking about bringing him here next year or 2 years from now. But when I see guys like Tyree Bryant, Jonathan Powell, I'm taking those guys every time.
Yeah, absolutely. Hudson, 43% from three, though. Plays in Miami, but he did go to Xavier. I mean, what do we think about that?
I almost think it would just be funny just to snag an ex-Xavier guy, and then he just goes ballistic in the shootout or something. But, yeah, I mean, Lily's probably right. he could be one of those guys. I mean, kind of like a Hickman, like, hey, does this actually translate? Granted, I mean, looking at the old 247, he was actually ahead of in the same class as Skillings and Desmond Claude. He was ahead of them significantly as far as the class rankings are concerned. And he is big too. So, I mean, look, if we missed out on a guy like Tyree Bryan and you could get Cam Kraft, sure. Hell, I mean, like I said, I mean, beggars can't be choosers right now. We want guys that could shoot. So I'll just put it this way. I could be convinced that Cam Kraft is going to be elite. So we'll see.
I could too, but we just mentioned it a few minutes ago. Nobody has hit the portal yet for Cincinnati. Now, obviously, that's due to the fact that we're playing in the Crown on Tuesday against DePaul. So let's just talk about the Crown for a quick second. Lily, this tournament's real, right? They had games today. But you seem to think that this might be
it's not real. It's not real.
It's a fake tournament. There's a fake tournament we got ourselves playing in on Tuesday in April. Well, what do we think about the Crown? Hudson, what do you think about nobody hitting the portal? And we might be the only full roster in the Crown.
Right. That's the most interesting part of it. Like I thought, oh, maybe everybody's doing this. No, nobody's doing it. Especially like Power 4 teams. Like you're seeing visits being scheduled. You're seeing guys enter the portal, and and I know Chuck sent those Instagrams of Jizzle James, Rayvon Griffith, CJ Anthony Aziz, where they're like reading clearly a script. Jizzle James was like, he wasn't even hiding it. He's like, Bearcats fans, the season is not over. We're playing in Las Vegas for the Crown. Like, get your tickets in the link in my bio. Rayvon did a great job. He might be a TV star at some point. He looked like he was actually serious about how excited he was for the Crown. So great acting skills on his part, but it's just really weird. It doesn't make any sense. Why is every other team not following suit? It's either everybody enters the portal before or after, and apparently we're the only team that didn't do it. So I don't get it. You guys tell me.
I actually found Boise has not done it either. So
good.
It might be Boise State, Cincinnati on maybe they'll make the court blue, do something fun for the final. I don't even know which side of the bracket they're on. Maybe it would be semis. Could be in the second round. But yeah, we got to give ourselves a shout out here, guys. We are the first podcast to talk about the Crown in the country, in the world. Nobody else is doing this. I've checked. I've been scouting these opponents. So yeah, we're locked in here. Cincinnati minus 9.5, but you can't gamble on it because the Crown forgot to file the paperwork so that people can gamble on it. This is a tournament in Vegas. This happened like an hour ago.
Wait, I saw you text that. I didn't know what that meant. So it was on DraftKings.
All bets are voided.
No way.
I'm seeing it live. I'm seeing bets. They're giving the money back, even if they won too, which is criminal.
I told you this was fake.
Wait a second. So you can't. All the bets from today have been voided?
Yes.
Yes. Even if you won.
What in the world? It's in Vegas.
You can bet on anything, dude. Literally anything. So this is definitely leaning more towards it's fake and doesn't exist.
Wow.
Like you could bet on freaking high school sports at this point. You can't bet on the damn Crown in Vegas. It's absurd. What a
crazy
bag fumble.
My argument is looking pretty good right now, guys, about this being a fake tournament that's not real.
I can't believe that. That's actually shocking. Because I was going to say, like, hey, Boise State, if they're the only full roster, that makes sense why UC was the favorite to win the tournament. They got jumped by Boise State today, but you can't even bet on them. I was thinking about taking the Cats to win the whole Crown, but I guess I can't.
Can you imagine being the guy that was supposed to run that through the regulators? And, I mean, they set the lines. It's on DraftKings, and they're just like, Scott, hey, did you run that by anybody? He's like, I didn't know you fucking had to. All right, well, bets are voided. Like that guy got fired, unfortunately.
How many guys are there? It's probably like a team of
one. I think it's just one for the Crown.
It's one.
It's one guy.
One dude running the ship. That is crazy. What do we think of I don't want to hear anything about DePaul, but what do we think about playing in this tomorrow?
man, I got to finish what we were just talking about. Like,
Yeah.
let's talk about that. They announced this bracket at 9 a.m. on a Monday. Like, and then I go on Twitter to their account and there's no bracket. They didn't post the bracket for 4 hours. It's like, that's when I started saying this is a fake tournament. I was like, who the hell is running this thing? They cannot be real. Anyways, yeah, we played a Paul. They've got 7 players. We should kick their ass because we're doing the culture thing, you know, rallying around the troops. All the guys love each other. I think that's the analysis there. It's we're deep. They aren't.
I think the question is who's going to play? Who's going to play?
Hot take.
That's the interesting part, right? Like rotation.
I think it's going to be the same. I don't think he's going to change it at all. I literally think he's going to go out there and playing like we're, you know, it was like on the road at Kansas State. Like he's going to play the same guys. Hot take, I think it's going to happen. If we know Wes, like this is what he loves to do. Like he still thinks his team is awesome. I really think he does. So I think he's going to roll out the same guys.
I think I agree with you because I think that they're going to try to win the $300,000. Now, is that going to be real money? That's the question. If they're actually going to get paid. I know there's probably going to be some story 6 months from now where it's like the crown winners did not end up getting paid the $300,000. And to that, I say, you aren't on the University of Cincinnati men's basketball team anymore, so I really do not care. But I think the point that Hudson's saying with I think it's going to be the same is that I think they're truly going to try to go out and win this thing. I mean, that's why you see every single player still on this roster where DePaul has 7 guys. And I don't know. I mean, Will, you think we're going to see any switch up on the minutes or rotation?
I think it's going to be different, but I don't know how. Like, I don't know in what way. Like it wouldn't shock me if Paige plays now that the season's over. And it could even be like a favor, like to show him for the port. It could be anything. I think Rayvon's going to play more. That's one thing I'll say. But maybe Houdini's right. I'm thinking on the top here. Like maybe we really just go for this thing. And man, now I'm just dreading the press conference or like the celebration on the court. Like, what is he going to say, man? Is it going to make me more angry?
Are you talking about of the championship or just
if we won the whole thing, like, can you imagine like the fan, like we're winning a trophy, right? Like we won the thing, but can you imagine the fans just being pissed at what they're saying?
Yeah, I think I would be one of them. Absolutely. I would.
They're cutting the nets down. They got the one shining moment music in the background.
If somebody cries, it's over. If somebody cries for winning the crown, I mean,
well, it's like, dude, with the money thing, like, no, it's a decent chunk of change if you win the thing, split up between however many players we got on the roster. But it's like, is UC the only team that's like dying for cash? Like, why did everyone else say screw it? Like, we're not even considering playing. Like Kansas State was like, nope, don't want it. Indiana, see ya. Iowa, see ya. Like, it's just weird that we decided that we wanted to play one of the few teams and just retained everybody. Boise State, I know you mentioned them, but that's Boise State. Yeah. Like, they probably want to bring this exact roster back if they could. They want to just keep that in a little time capsule for the rest of their lives because they actually had a pretty good season. But for us, it's like we want to turn the page. No, that was not a reference towards Arrington. If he's listening, no, don't get me on that. But yeah, it's just weird. Like UC's the only big time program, you know, whatever you want to call that decided just to go all in on the crown. But I'll be watching. I will be watching. I'll be cheering on the Cats.
Well, we got what? 13 scholarship players. Split up $300,000 between that. That's $23,000. So
after tax, they might be paying the government after that.
Then you go straight to the table, right? In Vegas.
Yeah, put it on red and just double your winnings. So I think that exhausts the crown talk. I'm certainly not excited for it, but we'll see. You know what I am excited for? Shaun Abaev playing in the McDonald's All-American game the same day at night. So you get your double dose of Bearcats on Tuesday. You got the Crown during the day, and you got Shon Abaev playing in the McDonald's All-American game. Let's give it some stats for the people watching on YouTube with the full screen that Charlie Walter made for us. Shon Abaev, 22 points per game, 37% from the field, 35% from three, 91% at the free throw line. This guy clearly had an all-star campaign and overtime elite. Obviously, it's hard to tell what that looks like, considering if you watch the games, you know that the defense was coming at a premium. But guy's a star. The guy's clearly a star. He's obviously a McDonald's All-American. I do want to start with this press conference. So we clipped a little audio from Shaun Abaev's press conference before the McDonald's All-American game, talking about him and Wes Miller and next year.
A lot of people, they don't know me as a facilitator. They see me as somebody who just goes and score. But I can play make as well. I love to get my teammates involved. And, me and Coach Wes Miller, we've been talking for a while already about, actions we're going to run, things we're going to do to put me in position to be myself, and help my team win it any way I can.
Love that from Abaev. I mean, he knows that he is the playmaker. He is the scorer. But he's not going to come in here and take 30 shots a game. Is he? He might. I hope he takes 30 shots tomorrow. What do we think about that, guys?
Yeah, I mean, I thought from just some of the tape I saw and then just looking at some of the numbers that he actually was a little bit more of a playmaker than you see in those highlights, where he is assisting and getting his teammates involved. Because, yeah, he's not going to be able to have that type of volume and usage that he had over there. I mean, that looked like an LA Fitness, quite literally. But he hits crazy shots. That's why you saw the field goal percentage was not necessarily great. Because if you watch his highlights, I mean, the guy is shooting fadeaway 40-footers with a guy in his face. So we certainly want to clean that up. But I think, people were worried that Shon Abaev was going to watching that atrocity we put out on the court and he was going to, run away and decommit. You can tell he loves it. The more he saw that offense struggle, he's like, I can fix it. It's like somebody dating some, punk ass guy. And they're like, I can fix this guy. I can do it. He might be able to fix Wes Miller, dude, because at 6'7" and the way that he can shoot and create, I think he's going to get a ton of usage, more than most freshmen in that range will get on any team. So I think he's probably looking at it as a positive. We'll see what happens. He's got to bring talent around him, but I'm glad Lily went and chopped up that clip. How long was that presser for you to get that?
Presser was pretty quick, but literally everything else was just nothing, like absolutely nothing. That was the only redeemable part of it. Otherwise, it would have been on Twitter as well. I thought it was a pretty good quote, though. I was starting to think it was just nothing, so it was nice.
What do you think about tomorrow's game, Lily? Are you going to be watching? I assume you are.
Yeah, sure. I'll watch. It'll be fun seeing UC versus DePaul. I'm locked in.
Well,
I do.
Hold up. I'm talking about the McDonald's All-American game.
Oh, sure. I'll be watching that. 9 p.m. ESPN. By the way, 6:30 p.m. ESPN2. D. Alexander will be on before the women's games first. So we'll watch both. I want to say something about Shaun, though, because I'm one of those guys that, and I know for football and basketball, since I've been following recruiting since I was in high school. And, Darnell Wilkes, man. Oh, man, I was so jacked up about getting Darnell Wilkes. Like that. That's dating me right there. So I've learned through the years that freshmen almost always are just above average or worse. Like, we can name, like, a couple names here, right? Like Jacob Evans, really good freshman. Lance Stevenson was a good freshman. He was flawed, though. Like, it's very rare for a true freshman to just change the trajectory of the team, and I'm not, I'm not going to say that Abaev's going to do that, but there is some stuff that is getting me a little excited. And like Wes, for all his flaws, he does let guys cook, if that makes sense. And when I say cook, typically with our players, it's like they're trying to cook, but they aren't. But he lets them try to cook. so I think even with the freshman, I think he's going to let him try to cook. And just something I noticed when looking at a 2026 NBA draft post that I saw that had Shon Abaev as a tier 3 player around the lottery mark. He is old, and stuff like that really matters, like extremely old. And when I say old, he is 5 months younger than Jaylin Sellers, who's going to be a junior. He is 17 months older than Jaden Quaintance, who will be a sophomore. So he's 17 months older than him. He's ready. Like that's what I'm trying to say here. He's not like some raw, like you see his scoring. The scoring is ready. It should be ready right away. And I think he will score all season. I don't know how much he's going to score. I don't know, like are we going to play him 28 minutes or 20? Is he going to be a 6-man? I don't know that. But I really think he is going to be like a true scoring impact on this team. Getting to his spots, all that stuff. I'm just worried about all the other stuff. And him mentioning facilitating, like, you know, it gets me excited and all that, but like, I'm going to wait and see on that stuff.
What do you think, Hudson?
I think he's going to be like Lily said, he's a pure scorer. I think it'd be hard for me to imagine him not being able to average 10 points a game next season. And just because he's probably going to get some volume. It depends how the portal shakes out, obviously, but I think he's going to be an immediate contributor. We'll see if it's, you know, an inefficient 10 points a game where he's shooting, you know, 30% from the field or something like that because he's taking bad shots. Hopefully not. That's what I'm banking on. And Lily's right that it's pretty rare to see a freshman come in and totally change things, especially when we're probably going to be asking him to do too much. But we haven't had, Wes Miller hasn't had like a freshman talent to this level. Like I'm thinking of, you know, recently, we had Tari Easton. I mean, how many minutes did he play a game? Not much. I mean, he was under 20 for sure in his freshman campaign and then went, you know, 16th overall or whatever it was in the NBA draft and averaged 20 at LSU the next season or whatever it was. So it's interesting to see what Wes Miller's going to do with a talent like this. But yeah, he's going to have to produce or it's going to be Wes's ass, honestly. Like if Shaun Abaev's a 0 and, you know, it's not his fault necessarily if he's a freshman, but you can almost guarantee if he's not any good, at least it's right away, Wes is probably going to be out of here. Is that an exaggeration?
No, I mean, if we're not better, which if Shon Abaev is going to be a focal point of the team and he's not any good, then we're not going to be better and Wes Miller has to be gone. So no, I don't think that's an exaggeration. I will say this. Obviously they practiced this weekend. Shon Abaev was one of the East practice standouts. It was written that he was the one guy on his 5-man group who could be relied upon to get consistent buckets, buried some shots from deep, attacked off the dribble. And what really stood out was just how big he is. They don't do official measurements at McDonald's, but the eye test says he is pushing 6'7" with a great frame and lots of ability to generate his own offense. Something we have not seen. Now, obviously, Jizzle was a little bit of a playmaker down the stretch. Day a little bit too, but those guys aren't 6'7", you know? So that's exciting. That's what Bearcat fans are going to tune in for Tuesday night to watch him in the McDonald's All-American game. I'm certainly excited for that. That's about it, guys. Let's wrap it up. Any final thoughts before the crown? Corey Evans getting hired. Drew Adams reportedly leaving. There was a ton that we covered. I mean, I feel like coming up for air for breath, and it's 50 minutes later. Here we are.
Yeah, well, the beautiful part is about the portal, man. There's going to be like another 10 names that we're going to see in the next week. I guarantee it. So we can do this whole song and dance again. I wish the crown, now that you said that, I wish the crown, it would be way more entertaining if they let the incoming freshmen play. if they let the Shon Abaevs, the Tilleries play in this, I think eyeballs would be through the roof. Something to look at, first figure out the gambling aspect, get that regulated first, and then maybe think about tweaking who actually plays in these things. If we're going to do it directly after the goddamn Elite Eight, dude, the Final Four is happening. We're talking about DePaul at UC. It's ridiculous. I digress.
For all we know, I mean, everybody's been complaining about the NCAA tournament, the lack of competitive games. The crowd might end up being the greatest tournament ever this year. I mean, if you're not locked in for Cincinnati DePaul, what are you doing Tuesday at 3:00? I don't know.
Butler, Utah was a good one.
Yeah. Just get your money back on that one.
Who won?
No, I didn't bet it. Butler ended up winning. Gabe Matson. Shout out Gabe Matson, old Bearcat. I think that's his last collegiate game ever. But yeah, they lost by 2. In just great Utah fashion. They just let them drive all the way down, uncontested layup to end it. So good for them. Good season.
Lily, final thoughts before we get out of here.
I'm just looking forward to the, there is a rule thing that's going on in this. There is a change to the basketball game. The coach can make a challenge. So I'm excited to see Wes Miller make a challenge, see if he can pull a David Bell and maybe be the first coach to be 0 for 1 on like an obvious challenge. I think that'd be great content. I think they should do something crazy too. Let the coaches play. Or like have like a minute where you get double the points if you make a shot. Like just mess around. If we're watching this bullshit in April, like come on, do something. Maybe we'll fix that by next year, and we'll also be able to gamble on it.
I don't know. I'm pretty locked into seeing CMOS and Aziz's last go around in a Bearcat uniform. I was going to say Elam Mending.
Yeah,
I like that in the TBT. Not? This is no different than the TBT. I mean, these guys are essentially former players at this point. I mean, at least it seems like it. They haven't played in a month.
That's the weirdest thing. It's like we've all mentally moved on from these players, and we got to watch them again.
Yeah. Very odd. Very odd. But hey, we're going to have a live show, post-game show, not immediately after the final buzzer, but we'll be going live tomorrow night talking about, obviously, the game against DePaul. And I'm sure we'll have some talk about Abaev in his McDonald's All-American jersey. But thanks for watching. That's all I got. Make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. Give us a 5-star review anywhere you get your podcasts. It was a great show, guys. We will see you tomorrow recapping the Crown Open round game. See ya.